Hi guys, welcome to another session. So in the last video, we discussed Durkheim theory of suicide, and so far we have discussed Durkheim's social facts, division of labor, and suicide. That Durkheim always begin with definition, and then he explain the cause and finally function. And he always separate cause and function to avoid what he called as illegitimate teleology, what it does. Right? Cause and function, you consider it as same. So that is what I mean by confusing why something exists with what it does. Its function by illegitimate teleology. So after that, he'll also talk about the pathological form. So he separate cause and function, he separate normal and pathological scenarios, and that's what dysfunction, which is temporary. Understand his next major work, that is Theory of Religion, and you can see that in the book, The Elementary Forms of Religious Life, 1912. So Durkheim's aim here was again the same. So he want to study even something as abstract. He's trying to study that scientifically as a social fact. So when we saw a division of labor, till then it was something which is considered as part of economy, something related to productivity, profitability, production, efficiency, profit, sociological. And then when it comes to suicide, something which was deeply individual, deeply psychological, right, emotional. But when Durkheim took up the analysis, that become sociological. So similarly, something which is abstract and sacred, right? So this is now going to be sociological, and this is going to be studied as a social fact, just like division of labor is considered as social fact. Suicide. Now, when you treat something as social fact, you treat that as thing, and you will study that objectively. So let's continue. So let's start with the definition. So first, we will define, right? So what is the definition of religion? A religion practices related to sacred things. So there are certain beliefs. I'll tell you what I mean by beliefs. There are practices. Those are the worships that you do. Beliefs are ideas that you carry in mind. Related to what? Related to what is sacred. That is to say, things set apart and forbidden. So what is sacred? The things which are set apart. So a religion is a unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. Now, that is to say, the things which are set apart and forbidden. Now, these beliefs in moral community called a church. So if you look at this definition, there are two parts. The first part is defining what is religion. It's nothing but unified system of beliefs and practices related to sacred things. And the second part, it is telling the function of religion. It unites those who follow the same beliefs and practices together under a moral community called a church. So what is the function of religion? Integrating or uniting people. What world? Soul of soulless condition and opium of masses. Exploitative device. Here, religion is something which is integrating people, uniting people, right? So it's functional. We'll talk about that in detail. So if you look at this definition carefully, the rational aspect. So what is religion is made of, right? What religion is made of? It's basically related to beliefs and practices related to sacred thing. That's the first part. That's the compositional part. Second part is the functional part. What aspect? That's the first part. Second, what religion does? That's the functional aspect of religion. It unites individual into one moral community. That means those who follow the same beliefs and practices, they will be together, right? Those who believe in Christianity together, they follow the same beliefs and practices, they will be united under a single moral community. So let's take them one by one, okay? Let's start with the compositional aspect. We'll talk about sacred, profane, belief, practices, because you can get built on the distinction between sacred and profane. Now, sacred, the definition itself was explaining sacred, right? Sacred things are those which are set apart, considered forbidden, holy in a sense of distance and reverence towards them. So, for example, the idol in a temple, the cross in Christianity, or the Quran in Islam. These are sacred things. These are set apart and considered holy or forbidden, and respect towards them. Profane, these are things that are ordinary, everyday, and worldly. That means everything apart from sacred is profane. For example, the floor of the temple or the vessel used to clean it, right? So these two realms, sacred and profane, are mutually exclusive. What does that mean? Nothing can belong to both at the same time. So these are mutually exclusive. You cannot be a member of both at the same time. Profane. And what do you mean by beliefs and practices? See, Durkheim said that the beliefs and practices together constitute religion. These beliefs and practices are associated to the sacred things. What are beliefs? Beliefs are nothing but that we carry in our mind about the sacred. These exist in our minds in terms of myths or doctrines or images of gods, which are passed from generation to generation also. What are practices? These are nothing but the rites or rituals, worship, prayers, fasting, or sacrifices. So these are the practices. Again, if you see, practices can be of two types. There can be positive rites, there can be negative, positive, and negative. Positive are those actions that reduce the distance between individual and sacred. We feel closer to the God or the sacred, worship, prayer. These are examples. Negative rites between you and sacred, something which reinforce the distance, something which reinforce the superiority of the sacred, like fasting. These are negative rites, right? And abstinence from sacrifice. So in short, what I can tell, religion is a system of beliefs, which means ideas and sacred, and practices. So belief, I told you, these are ideas. Practices are those things which you do in relation to sacred. Belief means ideas about the sacred. Practices means the way you behave towards the sacred. These two together define what is sacred and unite people who share them. So those who follow the same beliefs and practices, the moral community, that's what the function of religion. So now let's look at the cause and then later function, because he separate cause and function. This is the most interesting part. Why and how did religion originate? Indirect experiment or a single case experiment. So remember, indirect experiment. The method used is indirect experiment. Can be asked separately 10 marker also. There you need to write about this. So what Durkheim argued is that, for example, Christianity or Islam, it's going to be very difficult because these are too complex and have evolved over thousands of years. So if you want to study this, this is going to be very difficult. And if you remember, he gave importance to general, not specific. Why religion came into existence is what you need to know. So you cannot study these individual specific instances. Also, these have taken a lot of time to evolve, and it's too complex form is what you see at this complex religions, which has evolved over a period of time. He decided to study the simplest and the most primitive form of religion that still exists. There could be some religion which could be at the simplest and the most, that simple form of religion, that elementary form of religion, then we can assume it as the same cause when these modern religion came into existence at that point of time, thousands of years ago. When this Christianity or Islam, the same could be the reason, right? So identify that simple religion, study the cause of it, and then assume that this could be the same cause. Because now this is primitive religion, it was at the elementary form or at the primitive level, the same would have been the same will be the reason. So this is what indirect experiment, rather than studying this directly, indirectly study. So that's why he studied the Austrian anthropologist, and their religion was Totemism. Totemism means you worship a totem. It's like an object, it could be animal, it could be a symbol, or it could be something which is representing a clan. So that totem is sacred, and that's the spiritual emblem of the clan or the group. So according to Durkheim, if you can discover the origin of this totem, then you can understand the origin of all religion. If you can, it will be the same reason how and why all the religions came into existence at that point of time. Okay, now Durkheim, he did that. So he visualized the primitive people, right? So he is going to establish the cause of the totem. So in the move around in forest, they live in isolation and occasionally gather together for exchanging things that they have collected, right? To some people have collected something, the others will collect something, so they exchange. When they gather, dance, they celebrate together, or they do certain rituals. And when they came together, they feel something great. They sing, they dance, they celebrate. So this excitement, this collective excitement that created a space, and Durkheim called this emotional energy that they got at that point of time when they all were together as state of exaltation. Remember this word, and we need to write in quotes, state of exaltation or collective effervescence. So Durkheim called this emotional energy that they experienced when all these people are coming together, right, as state of exaltation or collective effervescence. And once they disappear, once they dispose that state of exaltation or collective effervescence, once they disposed, the feeling also disappeared. So they began to associate that special joy or that emotional energy or state of exaltation with gathering place. So they started believing that there was some spiritual force over there. That's why when you go there, you experience that happiness. And to remember and to re-experience that force, or that they created a totem. So a physical symbol, that's what the totem, which is representing that supernatural power that exists there. And they felt that at that point of time they were, because of supernatural force, and to symbolize the supernatural force, they created a totem. So you created a physical symbol now that is representing the supernatural power they felt when they were united. So Durkheim, see what it is ultimately, how the totem came into existence. It is nothing but the representation or the physical representation of that supernatural force, which they believe as present over there when they were united. And they re-experience that feeling, they come again and they worship the totem, and that's how this religion came into existence. So Durkheim beautifully said, if totem is at once the symbol of God and society, is it not because God and society are one and the same? You are worshipping what? Are you worshipping the God, or are you worshipping that happiness or togetherness or that joy that you're getting when you're together? Right? It is that collective effervescence or the state of exaltation that you're looking for when you're coming to worship the God. Now, so you are coming to worship the totem because you love that togetherness. So in fact, you're worshipping God and society or togetherness. In fact, God and society are the same according to Durkheim. So for Durkheim, religion originates because you love that togetherness. You want to re-experience that togetherness, but you feel happy when you are together, and you consider this is because of some supernatural force. So ultimately, you love the togetherness, you love that social totem because people come together again to worship the totem, you will re-experience that feeling. So when people come together and experience a collective energy, they project that power outward and call it divine or sacred. So what they really worship society. It is that state of exaltation. It is that togetherness. So what you worship is society, or what you worship is togetherness. What you worship is that gathering rather than God. So according to Durkheim, the supernatural force as the reason for their happiness. So they are to signify that supernatural force. They created a totem. They started coming again to that place to worship the totem. They started re-experiencing the same. So that coming to function, what does religion do in society? See, Durkheim says it binds people together. That definition, second part itself, is the answer to this. So those who share the same beliefs and practices form a moral community called a church. Integration in society is based on mechanical solidarity. We discussed that in division of labor. That means the traditional societies, religion unite people through similarity because everyone follows same beliefs and same rituals and same values. But in modern society, people brings groups together. Christians with Christians, Muslims with Muslims, Hindus with Hindus. So each forming its own community, despite the fact that each individual are different and heterogeneity is too much. So this agent and its integrative function, even within this heterogeneous or plural societies. Okay, now there was a question, science is modern religion. See, Durkheim even observed that science plays a similar role today. Science is also based on, so, and that beliefs and practices are followed by certain communities of scientists, right, physicists, right? They follow certain beliefs and practices. So they share the value of truth and reason. So they have the same beliefs and practices. Science also now create new collectivities, which is based on shared rational faith. So in his words, science is modern religion. This was a question. Science is a modern religion comment, critically analyze. I hope and practices and how science is also part of beliefs and practices and how people are following that same beliefs and practices are together. And that's why Durkheim said science is a modern religion. So if I want to give some critical analysis of this, there are some criticisms like methods. He relied on secondary data, ethnographic data, which may not have accurate data. Like in case of suicide also, we discuss the same one, right? He collected from police records, so data may not be correct. Again, so many critics say he already believed that society is a source of religion and he just used this data to prove it. So the theory was there in his mind even before he take up the analysis. Then the scope of limited applicability. See, his model works for primitive communal religion, right? This, whatever he discussed, that typically work with this, but not with, though he's saying that if you can identify the reason for primitive, small, this kind of religion, it could be the same, but that's not the case. That's not the case, especially with highly individualized faith like Buddhism or Christianity. To an extent, Islam also. So for primitive religion, limited applicability, and then role of conflict is ignored here. So you can talk about Marx there, and Morton also, right? Multiple religion can create divisions and conflict, not just integration. So Morton is also talking about the same. Marx about relevance. Durkheim have shown that religion is not just about faith. It's a social phenomenon that strengthens community life. That's more important for us as a sociologist. Even in secular societies, heterogeneous societies that create collective effervescence and social unity. And his framework that we discuss now, that laid the foundation for later sociological studies of, on symbolism, culture, and identity. These are some of the relevance which you can write if this theory is asked. So I repeat, definition is related to sacred things. Second part, function, uniting followers, those who follow the same beliefs and practices into a single moral community. Sacred and profane, we explain. Sacred is supernatural, forbidden, revered, mutually exclusive. Beliefs and practice also. Beliefs are ideas about the sacred. Practices are the rites and rituals. This can be positive and negative. Okay, we discuss a method, indirect experiment. That means studying the primitive religion to find. So that's what indirect experiment. And the key concept here that we discussed is that concept of a state of exaltation or collective effervescence. They feel that the reason for that is supernatural force. So they created look at the PDF. I've given a beautiful block diagram for this in the actual class also. We discussed with that when I've used the board and writing. So that quote also you can write. And the function is integration. Religion binds individual into one moral community. And the society isn't because God and society are one. So ultimately, you're not worshipping God. You are worshipping society or togetherness, right? So modern relevance, you can write science as modern religion, rituals as social glue. And then the criticisms like use of secondary data, overgeneralization, theory, Durkheim theory of religion that transform how we understand the sacred. He showed the religion is not divine in origin, it's the social cause. It's that collective effervescence is the reason for religions. And what people actually worship is not religion, not God. It's that is actually created as a symbol of your happiness or the togetherness or the collective exaltation of the state of itself. So we worship the society itself. and that's reflected in sacred symbols, right? So why you're going to church? It is not to see the God or to worship the God. It is to experience that togetherness. We go to temple to experience when people are around. Why we need to go to a place? Because we want that togetherness. We love that collectivity. We are not worshipping God, we are worshipping the togetherness. So through this theory, Durkheim once again proved his central idea that society is really of its own. It's eugenesis. Every social fact, even the faith, religion, extreme abstract forms can be studied scientifically, right? So that's about this theory. Thank you so much. I see you in the next video. So in case if you are looking for any sociology mentorship or the classes